Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can probably tell, I am wearing the same shirt because I'm filming on the same day, guys, and I just could not be bothered to change, so I'm wearing the same shirt, guys. But today I'll be doing my no disclaimers book tag that was tagged by Madison so long ago, but here I am finally doing it. So anyways, let's just get right into it. This tag is actually pretty simple. I want to say there's only 9 questions, and I'm just going to read them off my phone. The first one is, which trope or tropes in books annoy you the most? So my first thought for this question was, I feel like any tropes, as long as they're done well, I think they're fine, right? But then I thought of one that I was like, oh my god, I hate this one, and that is insta love, guys. Like, I don't care about everything else, like the chosen one, love triangle, like all those are fine, like I don't care about that, but insta love gets me. Like I just can't do it, guys. I think I like romances when they are done well. I especially love slow burn romances. I love the process of when at first, you know, they might not like each other or they don't really know each other, all that stuff. They slowly start to understand each other more, and then they start to fall in love. Like, I like that the most. Or like the hate to love trope is always really good, but insta love, guys, I can't do. So anyways, question number 2. Which writer or writers do you feel overrated or overhyped? So for this one, I have 2. The first one is Stephen King. I feel like I'm sure he's a great writer, everything, but his books, first of all, is so long, and there's a reason why a lot of his books actually have an abridged version. And I've tried reading 2 of his books before. I read Sleeping Beauties, I think. It's the one where the women fall asleep and they somehow in a different world, etc. And that one I listened to an audiobook, which honestly I cannot get into. So I thought, you know what, let me give this author another try. So I decided to read his original one. I believe that one was, I forget the name of that one now. It's like the classic one, the one that everyone knows by, and that the one that I'm somehow blanking, and the one where it's like that haunted house or something like that. They're in a hotel. I know it, I just like can't remember off the top of my head, but that's the one I read physically, and I just couldn't get into it either. It was very long. There's so many descriptions. I feel like he overuses his descriptions, and I think that it takes me away from the book. So I ended up, yeah, I mean, I finished both of them, but I ended up giving them both like 1 or 2 stars because they're just not great. And then after that, I was like, I'm just not going to read his book. I just don't think his books are for me. Then the second author that I think might have some tea is Adam Severa. I am so sorry. I have read 2 of his books before. One of them is They Both Die at the End. And that one, honestly, I don't remember if I read that audiobook or something, but I couldn't get into it. I could care less for the characters. I didn't care much for the plot. I didn't really understand their relationship, the romance. I just feel like it was just really weird, and the process of that romance was not done that well, I think. So that was one of the reasons. And then I also read one of his co-wrote books, which is What If It's Us, and that one was okay. It was better than They Both Die at the End, but I don't think that one was that great either. I just feel like, I don't know, for some reason his like writing, his romances, I just cannot deal with. So I just don't like his books. I realize that it's just not for me, and there might be some tea, but I am so sorry. Just those 2 authors, unfortunately, I just can't. Number 3, what are your least favorite books you read since joining BookTube? Because there's 2 that I can think of the top of my head. First one is The Library at the Edge of the World. I think I included that in my worst books of 2018, which I will link above in case you want to check that out. That one was so bad. It follows this middle-aged woman, not even middle-aged, I want to say she was like an elderly woman in her 60s or 70s, something like that, and it talks about this library at the edge of the world, hence the title, and I just cannot relate with her at all. It was so dull, it was so boring, I just cannot. Then the second book that I want to mention is As Surface Breaks, and I mentioned this briefly in my unhaul video that I did recently. That one was so bad. I think I gave that book half a star. Like the first one, Library at the Edge of the World, I think I gave 1 star. As Surface Breaks, I gave half a star because it was just so bad. I felt like the way how the mermaid treated the mermaids were just terrible. It was very gross, it was disgusting. I just didn't like the book at all. The only redeeming factor was Cleo. She was a sea witch, and she had some really good quotes in this book, but other than that, it's not that great. And the thing is, she showed up for 1 scene, like that was it. Like I never saw her again. So the few quotes that she mentioned was in that like 2-3 pages, like, that was it. So it was not a great book, guys. Then number 4, a terrible ending that ruined an otherwise quality book. So for this one, I have 3 books plus a series because I figured I just talk more books because why not. So for this one, I'm kind of smudging it a little bit because I feel like the books that I have picked out, I picked out 3 books in a series, and I feel like only the series kind of worked a little bit, but the other 3 didn't work. Well, you'll see why. Okay, so the first book that I mentioned is Empress of All Seasons by M. Jean. This one, ending, guys, was probably the worst ending I've ever read. It was literally just a summary, like a summary of what happened, and I'm just like, wait, what? So the reason why I smudged this one is because it was not a great book overall. So this question is like a terrible ending, but it was great overall. No, this book was just bad overall, but the ending made it so much worse. The second one I want to mention is Descent of the Crane by Joanne He. This one also was not great, and the ending was even worse. So it was better than Empress of All Seasons, like the ending was better, but I think what made it even worse for me was the fact that there is no sequel. I looked on Goodreads, someone had asked, will there be a sequel? And the author answered, no, there will be no sequels, but there might be some companion novels, which for me means that the author will not follow this storyline, but it'll follow the storyline of another character or something like that. I mean, there might be some overlap with the storyline, but it wouldn't follow this main character anymore. And so for me, I don't consider that as a good ending. So that really brought this book down for me. I think if there was a direct sequel to this book, it might have been slightly better, but honestly, the overall book was still not that great. Then the third book that I want to mention is Crown of Coral and Pearl. This one is by Mara Rutherford, I believe. This one I actually liked, and initially I was very disappointed by the ending, but at that time I didn't know that there was going to be a sequel. And then once I actually put this book down, I think about like a week or two ago, the author announced that there will be a sequel. So hopefully the rush ending in this first book will be better now that there's a sequel, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm curious to see what the sequel is, because the ending for this first one was very rushed. Like, everything just somehow wrapped it up within, like, I don't even know, like 10-20 pages, and we were just, I buddy read this as well, and we were shocked by how fast everything wrapped up. So now that there's a sequel, I think it will be better, but at that time though, I was very disappointed with the ending, because otherwise the book was really good. Then the series I want to mention is Embers and Ashes by SABA TAHIR. I just reread the first book, which I think was the best book. I think I'd give that book like 4 stars or something like that. It was really fascinating. The second book was just okay, and then the third book was when things just became so confusing for me. I just couldn't care about the characters anymore. I couldn't care about the plot, and I don't know, it just felt like it became very scattered, I want to say. So this is a series where the first one was really good, and then as it continued, it just got worse. So I feel like kind of the ending, you know what I mean, but it's like not finished. So I am not going to continue the series though, by the way, because it was just not great. The next question, number 5, is which fictional character or characters do you wish were not killed off? So I feel like this might be some spoilers, but there's a character in Kingdom Ash who was the father of one of the main characters who was killed off in this battle. And I'm not going to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything, because, you know, but I was so disappointed when that happened, because I just felt like that whole death scene was very pointless, and he could have been saved and somehow he wasn't. It was like the author was like, well, I need to make this more realistic, so let me kill off one person at least. And I was like, well, why him? Because I was just really hoping for more of that father-son bond to continue, and because he was killed off, that didn't happen. So I was honestly so disappointed by that, because I actually really liked the dad. The dad was actually a really good character. So even now I'm still very bitter about that death, to be honest. Okay, number 6, what are some of your bookish pet peeves? I don't really have any bookish pet peeves. I think my biggest one would probably be page bending. I don't like it when there are some creases, like when that fold has a crease. That annoys the shit out of me. But other than that though, I don't think I have any other bookish pet peeves. Yeah, I can't think of any. Anyways, next question, number 7, what are some books you feel should have more recognition? So this is the book that I have discussed a few times recently, and that is Queen's Rising by Rebecca Ross. I really like this book. I feel like no one has really talked about it. I have been talking about it because I want everyone else to read it, so I've been talking about it a lot, but no one else has been talking about it, and I really like this book, guys. If you like a good slow burn romance, if you like found family, if you like magic, kingdoms, and all that stuff, like, this book is for you. So that one is a book that I think a lot of people should read. And number 8, what are your thoughts on censorship and banning books? Honestly, I think the whole thing is ridiculous. I feel like, yeah, okay, some books might have not the greatest topics or whatever, but I think there is something important that can be said of every book, especially because the books that are usually banned is because they're very liberal. I want to say they're usually about topics that no one really wants to talk about. People find it kind of outlandish, like very out there, but end of the day, I feel like that's how we progress as people, right? Like, we have to kind of understand more about these topics, some of these issues, and unless we understand it, we can't really discuss it. So I feel like the whole censorship banning thing is just ridiculous and people need more knowledge. So anyways, so finally the last question is, who do you tag? So this one, I don't really remember who have actually done this tag because it has been a very long time. So if you've done it already, sorry, but I'm tagging you again because why not? I'm gonna tag 6 people. The first one I'm gonna tag is Joe. I'm gonna tag Tom, Sophie, Katie, Nikki, and Parina. So I will link all their channels down below. I'll also link Maddie's video as well as the original creators video down below for you guys to check it out. But that's all I have to say for this book tag. This is actually a really interesting book tag. I feel like it discussed about things that I don't really think about too much, especially with the banning and censorship question. But other than that, it was really fun to do. Anyways, that's all I have to say for this video. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe down below, don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!